everybody, gonna show you how I make my bread today. I actually make a sourdough bread. So it's really simple. This is my starter. This is what I'm using to get all those active yeasts. This right here is the easiest thing to make in the world. All this is flour, salt, and water. I mean, just to put it basically, humans have been making bread since the Egyptians, before we had refrigeration, before we had all that stuff. So this is really simple to make. You're just using the active yeasts that are already in the grain itself. So I'm gonna take some of my starter right here, and I'm gonna put it in another bowl. This other bowl is actually going to be the bowl that I make all my bread in. You want to keep this active, and what that means is that you have all these little bubbles in here, all this CO2 that's being released from those active yeast that are in there, eating up all those sugars and everything. So I normally split about half of it off, and before I start working on my actual bread, I'm going to go ahead and finish this. All I'm doing is feeding it, whatever you want to call it. I'm just putting a little bit more flour in there. Every other time I put salt, so just a little bit of salt, more of a preservative, and then water. Now you don't have to worry about this, trying to work this into a dough or anything. This is incredibly simple, and voila, that's all you need to do. Just put some flour, some water, and salt. That's it. I'm gonna go ahead, now that that is done, I fed my starter. This can go ahead and chill for, heck, you can let this chill for a while because it is a sourdough. But back to the task at hand. So instead of going out and buying the manufactured yeast, the yeast grown in the lab, I'm using this as my yeast. You can do it either way. This is just how I prefer doing it. This is the more natural, old Egyptian way. So to start off with, I'm gonna go ahead and loosen all this up. And I was never taught this or anything. This is just something I learned on my own. And let's see, get all my ingredients here. So with the sourdough, since it is sour, the average person really enjoys just a little bit of sugar in with that. And so I like using just a little bit of honey. See, it's the natural honey because it's all hard and annoying to get out. Let's put a little bit in there, and that's good because that's adding, it's going to take some of the tartness off of it, but it's also adding additional sugars in there, which the natural yeast can then break down and help it rise. Alright folks, so now that I got that mixed up, it's really even and conform. So now I'm going to just get my flour in there. So this is my own personal thing. I'm obviously not working at a restaurant. I'm just doing this in my own spare time because I love cooking. So I'm just kind of showing you guys what my bread looks like and how I make it. Each time it's different because one, the flour, you know, it absorbs moisture. So the longer you have the flour and you have it in these porous little paper bags, well, a lot of that moisture actually starts evaporating. So when you start making your bread, it's kind of crazy because at first you may need a little bit of water, and then later on you may need more water. And it's the same bread, or the same flour bag. But it's just how it goes. So just to give you a general rule, alright, so right now it's looking a little bit dry. You can see that there's still dry bits in the bottom there. So I'm gonna add a skosh more water. And then at one point, the reason why I'm wearing the glove, one point it just kind of gets annoying. And that's why I think a lot of people use mixers. Well, I mean, obviously you're going to be using the mixer. in a commercial application, because no one's mixing all this up by hand. But at home, you don't need the whole mixer. I've never owned one. I still make delicious bread. So now, reason why I got the glove, so I can go in here, kind of speed up that process. Because otherwise you could be mixing it with your little spoon for a long time. Alright, and a nice thing about this, it's really going to give you a feel, because all you're really doing is just, you got dry flour, and you're just trying to add water to it so that you can get a nice consistent dough out of it. And right now, see how this is all coming together pretty nice? But I still got the dry bits on the bottom. That's actually why I put water on the bottom, to kind of help keep that down and keep that to a minimum. But just looking at it, I can tell, skosh more water. That's it, just a little bit. I actually like to let it go and get those dry bits down there, because now all I'm gonna do, just make sure it's nice and evenly mixed. Real simple. I know some people are like, why aren't you kneading it? Why aren't you kneading it? Well, at this point, all I'm really doing is just, like I said, just wetting the flour. Because once that flour gets wet, then that's when all the magic starts happening, right? That's when all the yeast get active and all your gluten start growing. That's kind of the magic to it all. Keeping it simple. So I'm just going to clean the edge here with the dough. But pretty much, as far as it goes, that's good. That's good for right now. Alright, right now all I'm doing is just getting it all mixed in there. Just making a real simple dough. Not going to worry about kneading it too much. Just get it all mixed, and that's the key right now. And voila, I'm going to go ahead. So I put the glove in there because I'm going to be using that glove here in just a second. Really all we're going to do, I'm going to put the lid back on it, kind of get all the air out. Then we're going to let this sit and let those glutens take effect and start rising. And then I'll go ahead and portion it out. Alright, and after you let it proof, it starts looking something like this. You can see all the bubbles in there, showing that all those glutens are fully active. And I actually haven't touched this all night. I let this go through the whole night into the next day. So this has been sitting for 18 hours probably. And that's the nice thing about the sourdough bread, is you let it sit overnight and it could be considered like a no-knead bread. But I'm showing you how I finish it up. So like I said, I always try to conserve my gloves, and I leave my old glove in here. This is, no one taught me this, like I said. Look at all those active glutens in there. A gluteny rising. So yeah, this is great. I just leave it in here. So not going, you know, if you're in a restaurant and you pay for tons of gloves, yeah, just go through all your gloves. No worries about it. But me, I like to play the difficult game and conserve them. But as you can see just from the sample that I have right here, once you touch it, it just becomes absolutely stretchy and perfect dough. So some people like to spend all that time at first kneading it, but I discovered a recipe a long time ago called the no-knead bread. And all you got to do, throw the simple ingredients together and just let it sit. The natural yeast in there going to activate all those sugars and give you yourself nice beautiful bread. So that's it. That's all we have to do. That's how easy this whole process is. That's all the kneading that I'm going to do before, you know, as I just mix it up. So let's go ahead. I'm going to portion it off right now. What I do, put a little bit of olive oil in my little containers that I'm going to portion it off in. I mean, you could make a whole pizza out of this if you're trying to feed a lot of people. But me, as you've seen from my other videos, I make real simple, small little pizzas, personal pizzas. And that is how you make a ball, folks. I'll just kind of push those bits in just to make it all nice and even. This is sourdough, so it's a lot easier than the other yeasts, you know, the stuff you buy from the store. That's it. I'll put that in there. Do it on both sides, a little olive oil so it doesn't stick. And I'm gonna let that sit. Easy. Round 2. So just trying to show you guys how I do this. It's real easy. It's not, everyone gets so intimidated by bread, but bread is such a simple thing. That's all I'm trying to show you here, just how easy. So my process for making my balls, you know, rolling the dough, you know, I just portion out to what I know is a good size for me. And then I'm going to just press it into my palms like that. Kind of make a circle out of it. Then I kind of roll the bottom just to make sure it's all attached. Press it in. Then all you're doing is making a ball. If you want to go back to the days of being in kindergarten and playing with Play-Doh and rolling out a ball, do whatever you want. This was actually one of the few things that I was taught. So, you just know how to kind of force it out. Make the dough nice and even. So it's just making a good, even stratification all throughout the dough. And push in the bottoms. And you're good. Alright, one more. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just letting you know how simple it is to make your own bread at home, especially if you're making a sourdough. These doughs here, I'm not using them all today. Heck, I'm not even going to use them all in the next few days. They can sit for a while. And they'll be perfectly fine. The flavor will get a little bit more sour. Just because, you know, it's a sourdough and it's sitting longer. So you're getting more of that excess of gas, which is going to make it smell. And that's it. This is real easy. Just letting you know. Doesn't have to be difficult to have delicious pizza at home. A little oil in there so it doesn't stick. And voila. That's it. Alright, thanks for watching, folks. Check out for my next video.